So the first thing that we're going to be reacting to today comes from level cap, and I'm just going to link it there. Is Star Citizen's next update a downgrade? I don't know. I'm kind of interested because I don't understand how people were thinking that 324, because I'm pretty sure it's about 324. I don't understand how people are seeing it as a downgrade other than the inventory system interaction. Let's see what level cap has to say. Let's turn that music off first. Right, let's see what level cap has to say.
I've been testing Star Citizen's next major patch, and it has some big features, new hauling missions, and persistent hangars that can function a home base, complete with fish tanks for decoration. But it's also becoming a controversial update due to the amount of busy work it's adding on top of Star Citizen's already laborious experience. Let's talk about what's new and if it's truly a fork in the road moment for what kind of game Star Citizen is going to become.
This feels he's targeting the casual audience here with this video. The laborious effort that he's talking about there, a lot of the earlier backers were hoping for this type of thing. The current backers do too.
Okay, so the first thing I noticed, and you'll notice when spawning into 3.24, is that there's no longer a city or station inventory that you can just grab items from by hitting the I key. Hitting I will still bring up your personal inventory, but nothing else. Instead, you'll have to go to these inventory terminals that are located, well, kind of all over the place at the moment. They're even located in your hab room when you wake up, which is convenient. From here, you'll need to find the items that you want and then drag them from your main inventory UI over into your drawer UI. And once delivered to the drawer, you can then place them on your person. Now, we've known for a while.
You can also just shift click too. You don't have to drag them. Hold down shift and just click on it and moves it across. Or you can just click on all the items that you want to select and then press move to draw, the button that's hidden behind the text chat. If you interact with these kiosks, you'll see there's a move to draw button. Select all the items that you want to transfer across within, the window that you're looking at on the warehouse side of things, and then hit move to draw, and it just moves them all across. Now, starting to watch this, I believe this is aimed at a more casual audience that doesn't really track Star Citizen that much, and I don't know, it feels there's a bit too much of a bias here. And I'm not a big fan of it because level cap has a large following. So his criticisms about things that he says about new things that COG have planned for years that they're adding, and him talking bad about it. That is, people with large followings have influence and can influence the direction of things.
That station inventory was just going to be a placeholder for a different system, but this new system is a bit cumbersome. The extra step of moving items to a drawer and then to your person is just weird, and it feels some sort of tech limitation that CIG hasn't been able to solve. It ends up being a little bit more than twice as much work as it was before to equip yourself with gear that you want, especially since a lot of the equipping phase might be a little bit trial and error with seeing what fits and what doesn't. There's going to be a lot of back and forth with the drawer and with your inventory. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. Generally, I don't mind, in fact, the terminal interaction, but it's comically laborious having to have the drawer in addition to it. I can only imagine somebody starting Star Citizen for the first time and getting stuck at just how to equip gear and get it from your inventory, and once understanding it going, why is this? Having played tons of MMOs, action RPGs,
it's the same criticism that I had for the item banks. The drawer doesn't make much sense. As far as I'm concerned, you should just be able to interact with it and equip directly from that. That said though, if you are paying attention to the UI between the item bank and the freight elevator, they're pretty much the same UI, just with a couple of different buttons on them. I admit I don't get the drawer accessing the terminals, or these terminals feels they'd be much more intuitive if it was just the only way to access local inventory. Our normal inventory as we have now, but without the drawer in the middle. Yeah, that's pretty much the feedback that a lot of people are giving is, you just let me take stuff out of the kiosk directly. Literally, instead of pressing on, we need to go to these terminals. That makes sense from a gameplay perspective. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Even the compromise, I gave this feedback on Spectrum in the thread about the kiosks, and I just sat there. I said the drawers just feel an extra step that's unnecessary. The other side of it, and I don't think he mentions it, is that you need to remember what stuff you want to equip. If you forget something, you got to go back into the item bank and move it over to the drawer, which is so frustrating. I don't remember all the shit that I have. I'll be going through and I'll be, all right, I need armor, I need med pens, ammo, guns, and all that sort of stuff. And then I'll realize that I forgot my fucking cruise locks. Instead of just being able to go into the kiosk and grab the cruise locks from there, I gotta go into the kiosk, go to the, the sustainment bloody tab, select the amount of cruise locks that I want, put it in the drawer, and then exit the item kiosk, go into the drawer inventory, and then pull it out to put it into my backpack. Some presets would be good. Well, here's the thing, and I don't know if you'll get into this, so I want to kind of watch a bit more, but one of my theories about this item banks, and it's the reason why it's coming at the same time as persistent hangers, is that CIG wants to encourage us to prepare ourselves ahead of time, and this is shaping our behavior to do that. Think of this from a game design perspective. The concept is that we will, before we go anywhere, we'll go into our hangar and we'll get our kit ready. A persistent hangar will lay out all the stuff that we want fast access to. So all your guns, crates for ammo, crates for food, crates for whatever. All the stuff that you want quick access to so that you don't have to go into the item bank. You go into your hangar and set it all up there. You spend all this time setting it up, and then in your persistent hangar you leave it there, and the next time you come to your persistent hangar you're able to just go to those spots. Instead of the item bank, you go to your crates and stuff and you just grab it from the crates. Eventually it'll be armor lockers and weapon lockers and things like that. Game is going backwards and downhill, but it's going. It's at least moving somewhere. One punch. It defeats the purpose of the new UI, but I just select all and move to draw so I can use the old system. Hey, if it works, fuck, maybe I'll just start doing it. Would persistent hangers be possible at stations? Grimhacks. I think persistent hangers will be one of those things where it's depending on the location. So rest stops, I don't think they'll do it. Grimhacks maybe, but then again, I don't know what CIG's intent is for the criminal life balance, where we have somewhere safe that we can go to organize our stuff before we go out. Right now it's all lawful based stuff, and everybody would sit there and go, yeah, but grim hacks, and it's, well, we're gonna get pyro soon, right? Persistent hangers in pyro. But yeah, having a list of different kits and then just go, yep, this is what I want. We're going to keep moving forward because we're going to be here for a while. We're kind of getting a little bit off topic, I think. Curious what else he's going to say is making the next patch and downgrade. I hope it's just not only the item kiosks.
Survival shooters, all that have inventory systems that you need to interact with conveniently, quickly, but potentially even realistically. None of them are quite as obscure as this one. It feels CIG is once again trying to reinvent the wheel with something as simple as inventory management. Eventually, they'll probably come back around to the realization that the wheel was actually pretty good in the first place. And hopefully this is a quick realization and not 5 to 10 years down the road. Now let's move on to persistent hangers, where you can have a hanger that remembers all the stuff you place in and around it, and it leaves it there potentially forever until you clean it up. And I should really call it persistent hangers tier 0, which means it's the most basic implementation and functionality of this feature. Now these hangers are actually pretty cool. Naturally, I brought up some of the first ever rewards that I got in the game, which I haven't seen since I think the original hanger modules from, I don't know, 10-ish years ago. But I finally got my fish tanks back with, well, no fish in them. I think CIG may need to do some flare overhauls at some point since these items are very old. It is neat being able to set up a little area that I guess would be my hangout spot, but until they get some weapon and armor racks in the game, the functionality of these areas feel kind of cosmetic at this point, but I can absolutely see them being pretty useful down the road. Now, a nice quality of life feature is being able to spawn your ship from within the hangar.
There is one thing that the hangars are missing, and it is exactly that, the hangout spot. They've got these different sections in the hangar that are supposed to represent, they're dressed up to represent different things. So we've got our medical bay, we've got the 2 freight elevators, or depending on the size of the hangar, if it's a medium or below, it's 1. If it's a larger or above, it's 2. But there's other spaces that are dressed up with stuff in there that you can't move, can't interact with, and it's just there. Honestly, I think they should just be clearing that space, because in the original hangars that we got, there was actually a little hangout space that you could go to. There was a little platform with some chairs and things that it had interaction points on the ground that you could put some of your hanger flare at. And now it looks they've gone in the direction of, you can put shit wherever the fuck you want. It's, okay, that's cool, but my hangar's already full of crap. I don't really If I'm going to try and claim a space as my own, I'm quite limited. I've kind of just got to spread it out everywhere. There should be space within the hangar that is designated, or multiple spaces in the hangar that's kind of designated as the space that you can set shit up at. The old posh balcony level to lord over your Aurora. Yeah, I think it was a Revel in York hangar. Like you had that little bloody viewing booth, you know, your office, and you could set it all up and stuff like that. Or the self-land hangar, where it was a little, you take a little elevator up and you could look over your thing, or you had a little space off to one side. Asteroid hangar, where you had your little control room. We're missing that ability to set up those custom personal spaces within our personal hangar. Honestly, I'm surprised that CIG just hasn't done that yet. I'm surprised that they didn't think of that and just go, we're going to take out some of the modules of these hangars and we're just going to keep them empty so that players can populate it with however they want. Or, you know, change out some of the panels, but maybe they're just going to iterate on that. Maybe they don't want players to be hanging out there as much. It's more a transit point where you're setting yourself up, just waiting for helmets to be helmets and not boxes, so you can start throwing the Bob helmets on the shelves. Man, what I used to do in Morrowind, I used to collect helmets. All the different helmets. I used to collect them, and I'd have bookcases set up, and I'd have all the different helmets lined up there. That's what I want to do. That's one of the things I want to do, but I want them to be helmets that I've taken from other players. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other people in Mongrel Squad that too. I think lots of people want that. You want to collect heads? I don't know if the deterioration tech's in yet, Amiro. That would be cool though. Them just deteriorating over time, turning into skulls. Different alien heads too, from different animals and things like that. You can pretend that they've got a head in them, Amiro.
The entire floor opens up and a ship emerges on an elevator with flashing lights and blaring alarm systems. And this does look extremely cool, and I thoroughly enjoyed it the first 2 to 3 times that I saw it. However, by the 4th time, I was already thinking, I wonder if there's an upgrade I can make to speed up this whole ridiculous process. Also, if you call up the wrong ship by accident, which I absolutely did, enjoy your 2-minute round trip of waiting for the elevator to come up and then going back on the terminal and telling it to take the ship back and then bringing the other ship up. It gets pretty crazy pretty quickly.
But yeah, as Amiro points out, yeah, this is great. It's just the trains. Everybody's, ooh, it looks cool. It's fucking annoying though if you bring out the wrong ship, or the UI doesn't work and it brings out the wrong ship anyway. Or you don't need that ship. You can utilize some of your time a bit more wisely. So you got the ASOP terminals in the common areas as well. You don't need to call up your ship from inside your hangar. So as you're running to your hangar, you can run towards one of the external ASOP terminals, call up your ship there, and then go to your elevator or go to your hangar. And by the time you get there, your ship should already be there. Search bar and filters in ASOP went, hey, calm down. They've only just got that working for items, you know, and apparently that was a large effort too. One thing at a time, mate. Have they though? Have they really? Yeah.
Also, due to the terminal UI not being my favorite, it's pretty easy to call up the wrong ship by accident. Now, if you have a large ship, you will get a large hangar to fit that ship, whether or not you want to call up specifically a large ship. And the large hangars look very cool. The size is impressive, except when you realize that you have to run half a mile to get to the cargo elevator. The larger hangar layout really doesn't make a ton of sense when it comes to convenience. We're going to need some gray cat vehicles just to drive around them, which might actually be the point. In fact,
except if it's your personal hangar, you can call up a grey cat and then just stick it on the side and then use that to drive around. There's a solution here. You can use that as a solution, right? But what a first world problem, eh? Oh, my fucking JPEG is too big, and I've been given a hangar that it can fit in, and it's too big. I now have to run. I have to run from the elevator to another elevator. You want rollerblades? Skateboard? You use your tonk as a PTV? Yeah, exactly. Like, people with an extra large hangar as well, like, they could set up a fucking track, a go-kart track in there now too. Him complaining about having the inconvenience of having to run across your hangar. Yeah, I thought that would get Amiro's attention. You can also set up an FPS map here too. I wouldn't laugh about that, Doug. They'll probably do it. Put it on Spectrum and watch it fucking get upvotes. Oh man, first world problems.
In the very first hangar modules, that's when they added the original little gray car buggy to get around it quicker because they were so massive. However, the size really just feels more of a flex at the expense of actual convenience, and I think that's going to get old real quick. In fact, unless you're operating a large ship, I think you would prefer a smaller hangar just so you can get around it quicker. Also, spawning a small ship on the world's biggest elevator is pretty funny, and then you have to run half a mile to get to it. Now, speaking of elevators, the new cargo elevator is how you get your big stuff in-game from the inventory. Elevator. You use the terminal to access your inventory, move it onto the elevator, and then call it up. Then you see your items there on the elevator, and you can move it around and do stuff with it. Cargo containers are supposed to make this process easier, but to get a cargo container to put your stuff into, you have to buy them on a space station, and the persistent hangars are on the planet right now, which is just a ridiculous oversight. CIG needs to let us buy these containers in the persistent hangars or just give them to us for free. There's already way too much running around in this game just to move one item from one place to another, and this is not helping. Also, the current limitation of only being able to buy an 8 SCU size container limits what you can fit inside the container and how many containers you're going to need to fill with stuff to move your things from one planet or station to another.
Talking about the inconvenience here, people seem to forget that the game was supposed to be even more inconvenient. I remember before tracked beams from the plan was to use stuff from mule to load cargo. Yeah, in fact, it's still may be one of those things where you end up using a mule to move cargo around. Once again, you've got to think ahead, and this is, I guess, the part where a lot of people, CIG needs to find the balance between making you think ahead of time, punishing you for not preparing ahead of time, and there's a balance there. We should have to do preparation before we do anything. Shouldn't just be able to wake up, get in your ship, and just go. There should be some prep that you need to do. Give me a sec. No prep needed when a ship explodes for no reason. It should end the fucking back end before annoying people with this crap. This is the thing, is thinking ahead before you're about to head out and going, all right, what I'm planning on doing something. I want to go do something. I want to go do a bunker mission. What am I going to need to take with me? All right, I'll need armor, weapons. I'll need some food, medical supplies. Which ship am I going to take? Can it carry that stuff? What stuff am I taking? And then the mentality of players, and I think this is where CIG is trying to push us towards the more physicalized world where things are laid out everywhere, right? Your personal persistent hangar being the place where you just take out all the stuff that you use the most regularly and just leave it out. Things that you don't need that often, you put away. And then during times where you've got some downtime and you're taking a break, you can go into your hangar if you want and just do some prep, set up some suits of armor and shit. Well, Grim, they should just give us the suit storages already, give us the ability to make a set in each and just walk up to it and equip. Here's the great part. You can kind of do that already. We did some tests with this in the PTU where you could kit yourself out, backspace yourself, and then your body would still be there. We did this on my Carrack with Carlos. He backspaced himself, so stored the ship, swapped server regions, pulled the ship back out. His body's still there with all the kit on. So we kind of already have that. But at the same time, this is one of those things where we can work around it, but this should have been the first iteration. I think a lot of players need to get used to planning ahead, but I don't like how the system, if I forget something, it's a pain in the ass to go back and grab that thing. And that's the problem that I have with this system. I get the idea of prepping ahead of time, but if I forget something, it shouldn't be so painful that I sit there and go, all right, I don't fucking need it. I forget my drinks or whatever. It's fuck's sakes. All right, I'll just stop by an outpost and raid a fucking storage box or something like that, instead of going to the shop and picking up some cruise locks or whatever, or going into my inventory to grab the cruise locks that's there. But if you wanted to avoid that, you could set up a crate on a ship. I'm planning on using a ship as a wardrobe and putting all the stuff in it that I want so I can get around this persistent hangar issue shit, storing it at Grim Hacks. I only pull it out when I want to kit up and put the ship away, and then, you know, go off, grab the ship that I actually want. And, you know, that way I'm interacting with the kiosk system as little as possible. But it's all that time and effort. Bootneck, if you got armor and armor lockers or guns on racks and hangar, would it still be accessible via the lockers from other locations? Should it be? No, because that's a physicalized thing. So your local inventory is localized to the space that you're in. So everything that's at your home port, if you go to the station above the home port, you can't access any of the stuff in Lorville, for example. All your stuff at Lorville is still at Lorville. Anything that you've got up at Everest Harbor is what you took with you / what you buy up there, right? So if I end up at Grim Hex and I've started my home port's Lorville, I won't be able to access my Lorville stuff. What I would like to see CIG do though, give me the ability to select a bunch of kit from my home port and have it sent to me, so I'm just not buying all the things over again. That'd be a cool idea, but what if the person who takes that mission gets destroyed or loses the cargo? Well, that's where you should insure your items, right? As Jen's pointing out here, this is what the pack rats are for. This is an opportunity for players to provide that service. Space Amazon. We need bloody Jeff Bezos for Star Citizen. Somebody can create orders, put them in with Space Amazon, and it gets delivered to them in-game. There's a lot more potential in Star Citizen than what players realize. It just means that other players have to step up and take that initiative. And a lot of players don't want to do it, or the ones that do aren't able to reach the audiences that they need to. Only next day delivery if you have a Space Prime account. Yes, I'd pay credits for that. I'd be paying credits for that for sure. There's plenty of opportunities here for that sort of emergent gameplay. Players just need to take the initiative on it. As simple as that.
Speaking as somebody who's played a lot of EVE back in the day, moving all of your items from one station to another to essentially relocate your home base was a common occurrence and something you needed to do a lot. And it looks Star Citizen could make it even more challenging than it was in EVE. And the downside to this is that it makes players want to sort of restrict their movement more, explore less, and just sort of hunker down in specific locations, which I think would be kind of detrimental considering the amount of artwork and explorative nature of Star Citizen. The gameplay is going to disincentivize players from wanting to partake in all of that. Now, bigger game concepts aside, one of the cooler things about these elevators is that they tie into the new hauling missions. There's an entirely new mission tree specifically for hauling, and it is actual gameplay. Finally, this is the most mission system gameplay we've gotten in, I don't know, a year of updates. It's been a while. I ran a few of these missions and I can say it's absolutely a good starting point for hauling, but it still leaves a lot to be desired and makes me question some of the current design choices. The way it works is you would accept a cargo hauling contract you would with any other mission, preferably one that starts at your location or at least somewhere nearby. Then you go to the cargo elevator of this location, you call up the cargo that you need to haul, you move it into your ship manually with a tractor beam, then you fly your ship where it needs to be delivered, park it, and then move the containers onto the cargo elevator at that destination, and then lower the elevator and transfer the cargo into storage to complete the contract. It's pretty straightforward, point A to point B with loading and unloading. Though as you gain reputation, you'll gain increased payouts and the cargo hauling sizes required for the missions, where you'll also need a bigger ship to move that cargo. And a lot of the missions take you to new locations, distribution centers, and updated outposts on planets, which is a really nice way to get you around the solar system and see new locations. It's actually a perfectly designed system to get you to just see the beauty of Star Citizen from a less aggressive fighty standpoint. And while again I think this is a good...
There you go, it looks like Death Stranding mission in space. Yeah, it's a box mission except you got more than one box to transport, right? And the boxes are a bit bigger. Does Brios have that cargo elevator as well? Yes. All scrapyards have a cargo elevator. So last time I checked them, they were broken, but that was a couple of weeks ago. And the volume of cargo that they accept is only 120 SCU at a time. So if you've got a lot of cargo there that you want to sell, you've got to put 120 SCUs worth on the thing, lower it, transfer it into the warehouse, pull the elevator back up, throw the next lot on. So it ends up being the situation where if you're doing piracy and you're trying to sell cargo at a scrapyard, your movement is heavily shaped by the cargo unloading.
Starting point for hauling, it's hard to ignore the fact that it's anything more than just a glorified courier mission at the moment. The list of quality of life upgrades and added features could be pretty long, at least my list would be. Firstly, the mission selection UI does not make it easy to see missions that begin at your current location or how far away the missions need you to go. There's a huge amount of filters and improvements needed for the mission sorting system to just make it easier to go from point A to point B and then from point B to point C quickly without having to do all this comparison research. The next quality of life update would be in the loading unloading process. I picked a ship that had a built-in tractor beam because I really like the idea of being able to unload entirely from the cockpit without having to leave the seat of my ship. Unfortunately, we're not even close to that being a gameplay loop yet. Firstly, the tractor beams on ships do work, but they're very awkward at the moment. Pulling and pushing and scrolling and overshooting your target, the latency with aiming is really just not fun to use. It's much easier to just get out of your ship on foot with a tractor beam combined with your WASD movement controls. It's just more enjoyable to do it that way. Secondly, even if you
That's just a skill issue and a personal preference than a criticism that it's not good. If we only had the ship-based tractor beams, then yeah, I could understand wanting a different option, but you got different options. And if that doesn't feel good for you, then use the other options. I don't have an issue at all using the ship-based tractor beams or the bloody ground-based tractor beams. They function the same. I'd say that the criticism that I have here with regards to the freight elevators and things, that there needs to be a connect between your ship and accessing services on a station that goes beyond just calling up repair, rearm, refuel, right? What's the point of having a ship that's got a tractor beam on it if I have to get out of my ship, go to the freight elevator, call up the stuff that I want? Why can't I just go to an MFD and connect to the freight elevator terminal from inside my ship? Log in, connect with it, grab the cargo that I want through the MFD, have the freight elevator come up, go to the back of my ship, and then pull the cargo in. Why does the hangar not have a remote tractor beam? I don't know. That's a good question. I was saying before, Fran, that the hangars need blank spaces just so that players can decorate them, and create their little hangout, chill out space. It applies logic where logic was purposely not applied. Shit, stop doing that. I know. Go look at myself. That's my criticism. If you wanted to streamline this process, get the whole UI for missions, but that's not unique to the cargo hauling missions. That's all fucking missions. The UI for the missions doesn't give enough information to you. There's no way to filter them so that you can order by distance to you or the difficulty. So you just get shown all of them, ranging from the easiest to the most difficult. You may only be interested in the most difficult ones, so there's no ability to filter those out, right? Others would say, why can't I sell cargo from my cockpit? Why not? As long as the cargo is physically moved from one place to another, why not? If they don't want to get out of their ship and oh, well, why can't the cargo be sold from my ship? Well, you got to remove it from the ship first, right? You want to sell it from your seat, you've still got to get the cargo from your ship to the freight elevator. But after you've done that, you should be able to get back in your ship, access the bloody freight elevator and go, yeah, I want to sell it from here, right? We can break onto people's ships. We can sneak onto their ships while they're unloading them, while they're loading them up. The ship comm systems don't tell you when uninvited guests join your ship, but they have a trespassing notice on them. The person who's sneaking onto your ship that's not part of your party, they're trespassing. So if you engage them, you shouldn't get a crime stat because you're protecting your property. They've introduced the first iteration of a castle law for Star Citizen for your ship. You can't do it in hard armistice zones at the moment. Yeah, exactly, Doug. Fucking lawn. You know, I'm okay with players being able to do things from their ship, but when it comes to physical stuff, it's alright. You've got to do the physical things, but where it makes sense, that you're doing certain interactions where it makes sense. So you're being able to access station services from your cockpit. As long as I can get the cargo from my ship to the freight elevator, I should be able to call it up, send it down, and make transactions from there. They need to leave the ship? Why? Why can't I have the information come to my Mobiglass to tell me what items I can buy and sell, and then have it sent to my warehouse? I should be able to do that from anywhere. I shouldn't need to be on my ship to do that. If I'm in my personal hab, I should be able to buy a cargo from there, and then go to my hangar, haul it up, throw it onto my ship, fuck off. The next place that I want to sell the cargo at, land, unload the cargo, access my Mobiglass, see what the prices are for the next thing that could be at this place or others. If I want to go in, I can go to the terminals. I should have the option to do it from my Mobiglass. These are small little wins that CIG could make to help with improving convenience for players. As he has stated before, that it isn't within his vision that you can do things from your ship, buying and selling stuff. Didn't we have useless commodity price alerts before? Yeah, that's because it was a journal entry. That was a problem with that. Nobody's going to it. And the commodities there weren't useful at all. The price difference by the time you got there, they're already updated. Regardless of what Chris Roberts warns, CIG is going to have to make some concessions on player convenience. There is still hands-on though. There's no system there for you to go, if you're inside your ship and you want the ship automatically loaded with cargo, right? You have to put your ship away so that it can be loaded, and you got to wait for the load timer. So you got to leave your ship in order for that to work. Or you can load it yourself. But if you're loading it yourself, then yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I should be able to just connect, grab things from the elevator. The Nomad would be perfect for this. You would start seeing players using certain ships and asking for features that would make their gameplay more convenient, that has tactile gameplay still involved, like moving the cargo from the back of the Nomad here in this instance. That's a physical action. But then if the freight elevator's in that position where it's up, before he gets out of the ship, he can just throw all the cargo on there, right? In this instance, unload unloading the cargo onto the elevator. Then he's got to get out of his ship, go to the freight elevator, send it down, complete the mission that way. Why can't I do that from inside the ship? I agree, Lou. I want to see that happen too. In fact, I think those are the sorts of suggestions that need to start being pushed onto CIG now. It's, look, like, can you do this? Can you do this? But even then, players could do this once we get that functionality on the Caterpillar. A player could actually organize that. Let's keep going.
You do load everything onto the delivery platform from your spaceship. Well, you still have to manually go over to the platform and then lower it and then transfer the cargo on the UI to finish the mission. It'd be really nice if they could automate this process and have the platform just detect when you have the correct cargo loaded and then just complete the mission from that point. In fact, always having to unload makes it feel less a trucking job and more of a couch delivery type job. You have to
Automation. No, I don't that at all. So, Liza, I don't know how to pronounce your name, mate. How does the game establish who is the owner of a particular elevator with cargo? On Brios, for example, if I kill a player who's been loading the elevator and I send it down, does it make me the owner of it? Yes. When you interact with the terminal, it doesn't care who owns the freight elevator, it's when you send it down. Because the freight elevator is exactly just that. But when you send it down, you're sending it down to your inventory. This is actually a way that you can transfer cargo between friends. So who called it up doesn't matter. No. So you can transfer cargo between friends in any elevator as long as you've got the cargo sitting in your warehouse. What you can do is you put the cargo onto your elevator, send it up. Friend comes over to the terminal, sends it down, and then transfers it to their warehouse. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of camping going on. You know, we're going to see a lot of players complaining about getting bloody capped at locations, and it's going to be, well, you know, don't go to those places. Take friends with you. You know, there's measures that we can take. We have agency over our gameplay. Players seem to forget that.
to drive to the location and deliver stuff up a flight of stairs, where I'd much rather focus on the driving part. And with the contract jobs, at least for the time being, you have to manually unload everything. There's no convenient drop your trailer here and move on to the next mission type gameplay. It's tractor beam out about 60 to 20 boxes, load them somewhere, and then move on. Some people are going to love this, some people are going to hate it. I'm a little bit in the middle, but it's not quite the trucking dream I had imagined for Star Citizen. Now, sadly, the missions themselves are pretty devoid.
You tried that, it said it was stolen, which it was. Yeah, because it was stolen. The cargo still has ownership. I guess I should have mentioned that this test was done at Grimhex, but they don't care. Did drug labs Jumptown also get elevators? Not that I'm aware of. Rip to them egg sellers without escorts. They're still going to do it. They'll still get away with it too. I'm pretty sure any location where you can buy cargo, there's going to be an elevator there of some sort. Even the mining outposts have a small freight elevator there.
Void of, well, anything interesting. There's no NPCs to receive the cargo at the destination, nobody to direct you where to put stuff or make idle chit chat about what this cargo is being used for. This type of set dressing NPC stuff could really be used to make the world feel alive, and at the moment it's just stark and empty. The descriptions of the missions are really basic. There's no voiceover lines for anything in them, or NPC interactions at all for that matter. And as far as I can tell, the hauling missions don't evolve into more dangerous or interesting missions. I was hoping for something that would let you choose between a really basic, low.
It's funny that he says that, because there's heaps of players on Spectrum, heaps of backers on Spectrum that are, we don't want missions that are more dangerous. We want them to be boring. We don't want combat to be involved in everything. And he's, oh, it's not exciting, it's not dangerous. And it's, well, fuck. How else are you going to make a delivery mission dangerous other than combat being involved in it? I guess you could try and do an environmental effect where you got to fly through an electrical storm, but we don't have that yet. And then complaining no voice lines or NPC interactions for these missions. Yeah, no shit, you're moving boxes from one place to another. What are you expecting? These missions are standard run-of-the-mill things that you do to make credits. This is part of your grind to get somewhere.
Low cost, low risk mission, and one that says, hey, we need this cargo, but you got to fly through an asteroid, so now you got to dodge and worry about combat at the same time. Something to increase the price and the interesting aspect of that mission. But at the moment, it just seems super, super basic. Again, a good starting point, but the rest of CIG's Tier 0 rollouts for their features, they can feel quite whelming. Now, something I haven't played around with yet is that cargo grids on spaceships will lock items into place now. So seats, vehicles, any items you could find, could be a fish tank actually. I'm sure some funny gameplay will come from this, especially with the ships that have exterior cargo grids. People could be sitting in seats on the outside of a ship flying around, which I'm sure will happen soon. Anyway, patch 3.24 is going to be a weird update. If you calling, and I do calling, there's actually now gameplay and a progression tree, and things get more expensive and bigger, and that's cool. The persistent hangars are neat at best.
No, we've still got 32 SUs. It's just depending on the location that you're grabbing cargo from, you may not actually be able to buy or obtain 32 SU crates because the freight elevator won't fit them. Make the cargo actually valuable and an investment from the hauler. Well, they have that option. They just need to buy the cargo themselves. They don't know the information that they need to know ahead of time of what's valuable and what's not, other than going to third-party resources, which is a criticism I've had of Star Citizen for ages. Because if you want players to do trading, you need to give them the information in-game. The way I see it, the hauler should be paying an insurance deposit depending on the type of cargo that they're moving. For the lower end missions, don't bother with it. If you're moving 10 SU of cargo, fuck it. But if you're moving, what was it? There was a mission where you had to transport 1,096 SU of pressurized ice or whatever the fuck it is. You should be paying insurance on that. You should have to put up capital up front to access that mission. Because I can tell you right now, going into 324, what we're probably going to be looking at doing, and I've already talked to Mongrel Squad about this, is that we're probably going to be dropping the red flag for 324, and it'll be conditional ROE. And the conditions is that if we work out that it's a cargo that we can't sell, then we will extort or ransom. We'll go for the ransom first. Why? Because we can't fucking sell it. The idea behind what we do is to extract value from the target. So it's conditional ROE. If we can't sell the cargo, we need to try and get value out of it somehow, right? So we'll extort them or we'll ransom them. And if they don't pay, then we board their ship, seize it, throw all the cargo away, and then sell the ship or salvage it. Because in some cases, the ship may actually be worth more. But for the cargo that can actually be sold, yeah, it's fucking red flag, go for it. That's what I mean. Conditional ROE is coming for us in 324. The type of target that we end up going after dictates the method of piracy that we end up using. All these little things mean nothing to me without long-term persistence of our characters and actions, Eve, and all gameplay and bases. When we get all gameplay, any of the base gameplay that we get, we'll still be experiencing wipes. So you'll build a base and then they'll wipe it eventually. All the stuff that you build up, they're going to wipe. Until we get 1.0, and even then we still may get wipes after that. Up until we stop getting wipes, to me it doesn't matter. What matters is the experience. Having good gameplay experiences, that's what matters to me. And if somebody enjoys space trucking and moving boxes from one place to another, more power to them. I fucking am bored as batshit when that sort of thing happens, but it ends up being the situation where I want good gameplay experiences. I've paid money, a lot of money for this game. I want to milk it for as much value out of it as I can. I know a lot of other people want to do it too. One more question about Brios. I heard you right. Cargo elevator accepts 120 SU, however big it's the overall storage of Brios. I believe it's 1,000. Already loaded up and no availability. Can I come back and sell? Does it persist to a different region if I relog? Yes. So any cargo that you store at a location at the warehouse it's storing items in a local inventory. So when you jump servers, it's still in that area's local inventory for you. It's just to access that inventory, you have to go through the freight elevator UI. Yeah, RMC will only be from salvage. Yeah, I think they're just trying to kill off the RMC trade route for now. I think they want players to try and do the cargo hauling missions. From my understanding, or from what I saw last when I looked at commodities, maize is going to be a really hot commodity, but you can't buy it anywhere. So players doing Vaughn missions and then pulling the cargo off of NPC ships. So the salvage yards are probably going to increase in activity again. Then you're also looking at the higher end cargo hauling missions or ransom opportunities. I've been meaning to make a Spectrum post and just asking why the higher end commodities from the cargo hauling missions, why some of them we can't sell. But then again, I haven't seen all the higher end cargo hauling missions either, so it's possible that there are some that you can sell, and it just depends on the route that you're taking. All right, let's finish this video off anyway. We're almost done.
More silly than functional at the moment, and item management is about to get a lot more cumbersome than it already is. I fear, especially with the basic stuff inventory, the learning curve for new players is just going to get more unpleasant than I'm sure it already is. And it'll also serve to bog down veteran players who feel they're just being held back by unnecessary time sinks in between the actual gameplay. Granted, this is a controversial topic and I know some people are for it and against it. I'd actually be curious to hear what your thoughts are on this whole sim everything approach to Star Citizen. Have they gone too far with some of this UI stuff and inventory management, or do you think it'll add additional value and meaning to the world when it takes a lot of time to do anything? Let me know in the comments. And up next, check out this game that takes advantage of a HOSAS dual joystick.
I can't remember what that game's called. I've seen it before plenty of times. It's not X4. 100% not X4. There you go. Everspace. So that was Level Cap's video. The takes that Level Cap has there, I agree with some of it. A lot of it I don't. I think some of it, because it's new, we need to get used to it before we can really start making any sort of serious complaints. The kiosk or the item bank UI though, the step of putting stuff into a box before putting it on still doesn't make sense to me. I think that needs to change. But when I think about it from a game design perspective, I believe that CIG is trying to shape the player behavior so that they will think ahead and take out the items and prepare them ahead of time so that when they actually need to access them, they can do so quickly. So you're not always going into the item bank. The way I see the item banks is that it's something that you go into occasionally and you use it to prep gear that you're going to use more frequently later. Same with the freight elevators. CIG is trying to get players to think what pirates and PvPers have done for years in the PvP, kind of. And they're disguising it as, hey, you can decorate your hangar the way that you want. And like, I imagine that we're going to see the weapon racks and the armor suit body holders and things like that. I imagine we'll see them soon. I think CIG is actually aiming for base building for 4.0 so that players can build bases in Pyro, which will be glorious if that's the case. Base raids are going to be amazing. But it wasn't too bad of a video. We're going to move on to the next one.